With that, go ahead and continue on belly flopping right where I left off. Um, where was we? Verse 22. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law with her, returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. And then we went over. I stopped on the precept of 2 Samuel 21 and 9, dealing with this verse, and I would love to hear any comments, further research on how this is applicable to this beyond the barley harvest um, in that regard. So I think that that's something that we might want to take into account when it comes down to this here. Um, Now, which brings me over to Esther. Now, these are two, um, short books, and I wasn't really trying to I really wasn't trying to I really wasn't trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, I was just trying to see how everything was applicable um, to what we're currently going through. They're pretty much short books. I do encourage that you continue to read all of Esther. All of Ruth. Something you can do in your spare time, on break, on lunch, something like that, and kind of chew on it and digest it. Then I came over here to Esther, chapter 1. So hopefully I'm gonna run through this. And what I'm gonna probably do here, just to save some space on my data and save some time, um, I hopefully you guys can see the verses for the precepts. I'm just gonna mention it unless I need to dig in deeper, so that I can kind of keep moving this forward. Um, yeah. Now it came in Esther 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 107 and 20 provinces. Now, every time we hear India now, you should know, should be a red flag. Anytime you hear Ethiopia, should be a red flag. Um, and there's a reason for that, based upon prior prior teachings. Now, one of the things that I don't want us to get away from here is, just because this is scripture doesn't mean that those same, uh, as Brother King Drop would say, doesn't mean that there's not babies in the bathwater that we're not supposed to be extracting. It should still be a red flag, because we are still dealing, even though we are dealing in the Old Testament. We all know that everything's been touched, plagiarized, and all types of stuff. Now, this very first verse, and second verse, excuse me, is that right? Am I make sure I got that right? Yes, second verse. Um, let's go back over here. I don't want to do that. Where How did I do that before? Let's close that up over here. Sorry about that. Alrighty. Shoot. Esther 1. There we go. Alrighty. That in those days, when King Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which is in Shushan, the palace. All right. Now this has um, a precept here, which is First Kings 146, chapter 146, and also Solomon sitteth on the throne of the kingdom. Stop. This is where I had a real big red flag moving forward, because in our search for Prestor John, this, that, and the other, this throws a totally different spin on what we are reading. Now, I do encourage you to read the rest of the chapter, but just to stop here, because I wanted to kind of again wrap up hard into the lesson, the whole point. Because when I start looking up this name here, Ahasuerus, um, you're going to be amazed at what comes up. So I'm like, well, who is this? Because the precepts goes and states that, and also Solomon sitteth on the throne. But let me go ahead and finish reading this here, because it'll make more sense, especially in the search for Prestor John. Okay. That in those days when King Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the palace, in the third year of his reign, he made a feast unto all of his princes and servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him. And if you notice how this is being, if you when you read it through the lens of what we understand as far as Prestor John is concerned, this sentence changes a lot as far as how you would initially understand it. You know, who is he making? Who is this Ashurius? And more importantly, notice how the power of Persia and Media are there. The nobles and princes of his provinces are there. But this is just a portion of the kingdom, and we learn that by through the own precepts that state that in 1 King 1:46, they're trying to tell you here that, and also Solomon sitteth on the throne of the kingdom. Is Asurius Solomon, or is Asurius one who is under the authority of Solomon? Um, Now, I want to just take this to right to verse 6, and then I'm going to take a step back so I can move forward in the lesson. Let's see here. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. That means that he partied for about 180 days. Okay. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan, the palace, both great and small, another 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace. All right. And number verse 6, uh, where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen, and purple to silver, silver rings, and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver, upon the pavement red and blue and white and black marble. Okay, and that does refer as another precept that goes to a later chapter verse in Esther, which is 7:8, which states, "Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. Then said the king, Will he force the queen also before me in the house? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face." Esther 1:6. Okay. Again, I went back and we started looking this up, which is Ahasuerus. Now, I suggest that you guys look this up and continue to study. This is very important because we're going to see and cover through all the hijack that's going to try to make this person sound like somebody that he isn't, even though they use sound logic for the most part. All right, Azorius. Then they have the Hebrew, the Greek transliteration. These are the different names and how it's been translated. Okay. Is a name used several times in the Hebrew Bible, as well as related uh, legends and apocrypha. This name or title is applied in the Hebrew scriptures to three rulers. The same name is also applied uncertainly to a Babylonian official or Median king noted in the book of Tobit. Now, the original name was Old Persian, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that. This became Babylonian, this name here, brought into Hebrew as this here, and thence into Latin as Ahasuerus, the form traditionally used in English Bibles, right? The Persian name was independently rendered in ancient Greek as Xerxes, basically. Many newer English translations and paraphrases of the Bible have used the name Xerxes. This is hijack in action. and you're going to see why. Okay, it states here in the book of Esther that Azurus was given as the name of the king of Persia in the book of Esther. Mm, okay, 19th century Bible commentators generally identified him as Xerxes the First of Persia. 19th century means 1800s, so this is recent. Um, the Greek version, the Septuagint of the book of Esther, refers to him as Artaxerxes, and the historian Josephus, and we know about that guy, relates that this was the name by which he was known to the Greeks. Now you go through this and they kind of try to justify all of this, but let's just jump down to the nitty gritty here. Okay. Um, It goes in the book of Ezra where this name is used, and we got the book of Daniel, and it goes to this explanation. Now, this is where it kind of gets interesting, and this is what I mean about Prestor John. What does it say? In Legends, in some versions of the Legends of the Wandering Jew, we know that this is Prestor John, right? His true name is held to be Ahasuerus. This is the name by which Immanuel Kant refers to the wandering Jew in the only possible argument in support of a demonstration of the existence of God. Um, I thought that this was very important, and I thought that this was very keen because um, this is something that I don't want us to miss. We gloss over it. Again, remember, when we are looking at these historians and who's writing what, are they trying to correct the information or further hide the truth of the information? As Brother King Drop would say, let's take a look at the fine print. Alrighty. So we're going to go to this part right here. Let's go, boom. Okay, so we have the legend of the wandering Jew in Europe and Romania. And then there's archive from the original on 2008, basically. So we're going to open this one up. And we're going to open this up in a separate tab. Bear with me here, sorry. Open link in a new tab. All right. And again, I probably will make another video just to finish Esther chapter 1 and the precepts, but I just kind of wanted to get right to the meat and potatoes. Alrighty. Let's see here. Let me make it so that it's a little bit more readable if I can. Sorry. Alrighty. Central and Eastern Europe. In European folklore, the evangelical motif Jesus' passions has functioned as the frame in which the legend of the wandering Jew was forged. Summarized in brief, the legend goes as follows: as Jesus was bearing his cross up the Via Dolorosa, he sat himself down to recover his breath on a bench that was in front of a Jewish shoemaker's house, one called Ahasuerus. And I remember this name, and this is again just kind of bring it full circle in reading about the wandering Jew. This is why it caught my attention, and I had to go back. Okay, because I came across this name before, and so to see it in the actual scriptures, having a better understanding of things, it again created an aha moment. So, the shoemaker cried out insults, even hit him, according to some versions, and drove him away. We don't believe in this Iestus Christus, right? Jesus doomed him, right, to wander to the length and breadth of the earth and not find his place, his peace, or even his death anywhere before the day of judgment. And on that, I'm going to stop. Um, isn't this descriptive of perpetual servitude? I'm asking a question. Is what we're reading, is what we understand, been in our face the entire time? Right? Isn't Prestor John the last noble image? And if you guys, think I'm just, pulling stuff up, read the rest of this link here. And then you can easily get it through the Wikipedia read through this already. On the reason I'm just kind of keeping it short and simple um, is because I want you guys to get the information. I just want to put the information out there. But read this article. But understand that we're talking about you. So every time that like a piece on the chessboard represents something, Prester John, the last noble image, represents more than just the king, because the king represents the kingdom. He represents the people. And in our perpetual servitude, because we did not want to agree with or um, be subject to this falsehood, um, the Christianity through the papal bulls doomed us to wander the length and breadth of the earth, meaning you're homeless, you have no home, even though we're the indigenous people, not to find his place um, or his peace. We have no peace. You know what I'm saying? This the Christian idea of I come in peace. He brings peace through war and commerce. Um, even his death, meaning that we're not even they're holding our souls captive because as we believe in this um, Christian mythos, this Isus Christus, this hijack, our souls are being stolen. This Luciferian Lucifer stealing our souls so that we can't even get our peace and death with our Creator. And we won't even understand this because they know it until the day of judgment. So this was just a quick two-part 1-2 punch. Just kind of bringing it all together. I do want you guys to go back as far as finishing up on reading on Esther, and kind of keeping it understood here that you know exactly who we're talking about when we're talking about these names and titles, because everybody else is trying to make this dude be Artaxerxes or Xerxes, but um, that might not, or better yet, it doesn't appear to be the case. And through their own precepts, they, and also Solomon sit upon the throne of the kingdom. So either this Ahasuerus is Solomon, or he is one of the uh, principalities that is under the authority of Solomon, under the authority of Prestor John. So, um, with that, I want to say, love y'all. Thanks for taking the time to watch part 1 and part 2 of this quick hit of Ruth, and us getting back to our indigenous truth, and then Esther, when it talks about what was really going on um, under the lens of Prester John. It sounds like if this is Prester John, that the power of Persia media bowed down to him and honored him. And he had like a wild time. But I want to, again, I'll revisit everything else and I'll dig a little bit deeper. But just things being on the surface, as it were. Um, I hope this is babies with y'all can find get some babies out with the bathwater. So with that being said, I love y'all. With that being said, um, be blessed, stay blessed, bless other. Have a good one. Love y'all.